Okay, we ready? Okay, we're going to open the City of Chelsea Traffic and Parking Commission meeting. Okay, public hearing regarding the review and approval of the removal of 16 parking spaces on the north side of Summit Ave towards Webster Avenue. Is anyone here for this, Summit Ave? Okay, if you want to speak, you're going to have to sign in, and then you have to go up to the podium over there. If you wait 1 second.
You're going to be right after me. Leo Robinson, City Councilor, also 83 Warren Avenue. I'm here to discourage you from wanting to make this change and eliminate the 16 parking spots. I spent a week and a half on Summit Avenue, 7:30 to 8:45 for a week, and then also at lunchtime and at supper time. And I didn't see any need to remove the parking spots on the right-hand side. And I think that a lot of residents have voiced their opinion that they don't want to see the parking be removed. So I'm here in support of the neighbors and also register my issue about not removing the parking spots. And I also have a letter from one of the neighbors I'll submit to the council that was sent to Alex and myself today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to speak?
Oh, great. Thank you, sir. We'll pass these along.
Yes. My name is Albert Nash. I've lived at 14th Summit Avenue for 54 years. I'm begging you, please reinstate the 16 parking spaces. When I pull out of my garage, I can't see the cars coming down Summit Avenue anymore because there's so many cars on the side of the street there. It blocks my view. I have to inch my way out. On the other side, the cars that do the U-turn to go up the hill, those are blocked, so I can't see either way, cars coming up and cars coming down. I sent you these pictures so you can see what I'm talking about. Please reinstate those parking spaces there because I'm actually scared to pull out of my garage at times. And I guess that's about it. Just please.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else want to speak? If you could just sign in, please. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mel Bruce. I live at 51 Summit Avenue. By removing those spots, it doesn't affect me where I am. I'm up after Prescott. But what it did was, when people come from Webster Ave up onto Summit, there's no such thing as speed limit anymore. It's just gun it and go all the way up. And when you get to the top, excuse me, of Summit Avenue, you have a crosswalk there. There's a parking lot here for the Soldiers' Home. You cannot see there. People are flying. Someone's either going to get seriously hurt there or killed. If we could sit an officer there for one day, you could pull over just about every other car. I sit on my front porch drinking a beer with my dog, and I cannot believe how fast these people are going by. Someone's seriously going to get hurt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go back one more minute.
I just want to second that what that fellow just said there. The cars are flying up the hill. I've been there 54 years, and it's like a speedway going up the hill now. They gun it from when they got that straight on way angle to go up from Webster Ave up the hill. They just floor it, fly up that hill. It's unbelievable what's going on there. Like I said, I've been there 54 years. And now, as you see, my driveway, there's cars parked right up against my driveway. And so I have to back straight out I have to clear those cars before I can turn the wheel. And so I'm right out in the middle of the street, and the cars, they won't even stop. They want to go around you. I'm halfway out in the street there, and they're coming around me. I had a kid with an electric scooter. I was backing out, and he's coming down the hill. I didn't even see him. He moved out of the way, but he could have ran into my car, and I could have got really hurt.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Great. So first, I want to thank the neighbors for attending tonight and sharing public comment. I know everybody keeps very busy schedules, so we appreciate you taking time out of your evening to come and share that feedback with the commission. So I'll share a little bit of just background on the request before moving it to a vote. So originally, as you know, Summit has parking on both sides of the street, along with two-way traffic. And if you have cars on both sides of the street parked, there isn't necessarily enough room for cars to drive by on both sides. So traditionally, when you're coming down the hill, if there's cars parked, you kind of have to maneuver around them a little bit. So when they restriped the road recently, they shifted the yellow line in the road closer towards the center. And so what they did was they took, an issue that was on one side of the street and moved it to the opposite side of the street. I think after we've looked at this, we have, evaluated the roadway safety and circulation issues and have found that really if we keep the parking spaces there as is and do nothing, it could probably function just fine. Cars won't be able to necessarily both go by at the same time, but it will force people to slow down and would also allow the neighbors to keep these 16 spaces so it can be used in the neighborhood. So I think from our department's vantage point, we would propose not approving the request to remove these 16 spaces and keeping these 16 spaces for use by the neighborhood.
Okay.
But keeping the traffic pattern the same.
Correct, that's exactly correct, yep.
Do we want to vote on this today or vote on it for the next meeting? What would you like to do?
No, you studied it, and this is the best alternative to everything.
It's not, so when you have two-way traffic up here, it's not ideal. It wasn't ideal before, though, before they did the restriping. If you had cars parked on both sides, you would still have to slow down and kind of carefully maneuver around parked vehicles. So when they restriped it, they can't fix the issue of the road not being wide enough. So this would be kind of the best possible outcome unless you're going to do something drastic like a one-way or something along those lines, short of removing traffic. So unless there's any public safety issues around fire accessing the road, from a roadway operations perspective, we don't see any issue with keeping those 16 spaces.
Okay. Anyone else?
So it was already restriped, right?
That's correct, yep.
So it would have to go back to the way it was.
No, they keep the same striping.
But then the way it's striped now, doesn't it eliminate the parking on one side already?
You don't really have enough parking now on the parking area on the right-hand side where the new striping is. But the way it was before meant you didn't really have enough room on the left-hand side before. So this just essentially switched the problem to the opposite side of the street.
All right.
Do you want to make a motion on this?
Right. So I'll make a motion to deny the request of the removal of 16 parking spaces.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of denying?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, public hearing regarding the review and approval of making Clark Avenue a one-way street from Cabot Street to Stockton Street or Webster Avenue. Is anyone here to speak on this? Wait, could you sign in, please? All right.
Hi, my name is Linda Levy, and I'm a tenant at 260 Clark Ave. We had a meeting at 260 Clark Ave about the traffic issue that's happening in front of 2 Clark. The benefit of making that a one-way is that you're going to pull some of this heavy-duty traffic going up to Broadway, trying to avoid the light at Webster Ave and trying to avoid the light on Stockton Street by making it a one-way and pulling the traffic out of that area back into the city so they can go home, rather than get them back up to the expressways and block it up. You go up Cabot Ave, you want to get over to Eastern Ave, you can't get over there because they're blocking the street waiting to get to Route 16. One thing that could alleviate that is if they paint those white lines that they have on Eastern Ave to leave that area open. So anybody coming on Eastern Ave and wanting to take a left on Broadway, they can. Same thing, they want to go down Cabot Ave and take a right on Eastern Ave, they can. The traffic there it's horrendous. There's no stop signs on either side of Cabot that cross over Clark Ave. The people think it's a speedway. They don't slow down. If you put cameras up there, every single car that comes off of Broadway and goes up Cabot just swoops into Clark Ave. One of these days, somebody's going to get hit crossing the street because it's right in front of an elderly building, and the people are crossing over to go to S&L or to go to the liquor store, go to the gas station. They're not slowing down to allow these people to cross the street. I presented what I felt was important when we had the meeting on Clark Ave. I also have two more visuals that I'd like to present. One of them is the stop signs on both sides of Clark Ave on Cabot Street to make Clark Ave a safer place for the elderly. The other is if you do make Clark Ave a one-way, I took a sample off of Davis Street in Revere where they have a do not enter sign, and they have certain hours for the school kids that you cannot go up Davis Ave. I did a prototype for us with, in the words written in it, do not enter excluding emergency vehicles and Clark Ave residents only. This way you're not going to upset that entire neighborhood of street that have a whole street of driveways to the condos there. This way they can go up and continue their everyday usage. Same thing with the tenants at my building can go up and come around rather than forcing the elderly to go up to Broadway to come around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Did you want to speak?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Alexander Floyd Vargas, 260 Clark Ave, apartment 807 in Chelsea. I'm also a member of the Chelsea Disability Commission. Hopefully I'm not coming out too loud. Yeah, I've noticed, I'm on Clark Ave as well, and I've noticed, it has gotten better than what it was, 12, 15 years ago. But cars are still, I know they must be going 60 because I try to go down Broadway or other places, and sometimes I'm scared to do it myself because I said I don't know where these, cars are coming from. Too many cars parked out right next to the curb. You can't see it. I can't put a sign on my wheelchair because the ride won't accept it. I try to put, decals or a jacket so hopefully somebody could see me. You know what I mean? But if everybody's heads are down or they're looking away or they're on their phones, even driving here, I had someone on their phone. I almost wanted to say that that's not safe driving, But yeah, it seems like I wish there was a way to either see if there was a study that could be done to try to make the streets safer or to try to remind people not to be going so fast. Because even when I go to other parts of Broadway, it just seems like the cars, the minute they get, 100 feet, they just speed along. Even in the mini mall where the Home Depot is, I see cars speeding along, which would be fine, but this is even next to the CVS, next to the McDonald's, they're speeding. It's like, there's no little kids walking by or anything that people could get, it's like people forget that there's other people around. So the only other problem with signs is if everybody's looking down, or the weather, there's a lot of wind around there as well. The signs could technically, be damaged or blown off. And even going to the liquor store or the dry cleaners right next to it, I've seen little trucks, run over the signs And then I said, well, how much does that cost the city? Another, $500 because a little truck just kind of went over the island or went over the double line and hit the sign, and now it's, it's broken. I sent the city tons of pictures of the signs getting, run over and right next to the gas station as well. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to, encourage people not to speed so much, because everything is so close together and the streets are right next to each other too, and it's not a highway, so I don't understand why people are driving so fast. And then, where we are, right next to the Beth Israel Clinic, or is it not called the Beth Israel anymore, and the Walgreens. And then there's another new set of apartments right there, right before you get to the Revere underpass or overpass. There's a brand new, building there. So I said, I haven't, because my wheelchair is partially broken, I can't even drive over there. And I said, well, that might be a good thing, because I have no idea, how many cars are coming by. You know what I mean? So I said, well, you might be lucky that you can't drive over there. So I have to use the ride to, but everybody can't use the ride, and try to figure out, where the dangerous parts are if other cars are speeding along. I can't, But I think if there was either a one-way or a way that Chelsea could, find a system to remind people, slow down, there's other people, around.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
Good evening. Norielisa Jesus, Counselor for District 3. First of all, thank you all for the service that you do within this commission. I really appreciate the time that you take to listen to the constituents and to all the concerns that are brought up. And also for even taking it one step further and visiting some of the elderly constituents and meeting them in their space to hear from them what's concerning with regards to some of the speeding. I am going to be brief because I think that the residents spoke very well about the concerns, and they have taken it above and beyond to do the visuals and the examples and pictures and all of that to share what is the issue that's going on Clark. I fully support the recommendations that they are bringing up before you. I have also met with some of our firefighters and other departments to also understand, what are some concerns on the city side when we are putting up speed bumps all across the city. And so with that being said, I still think that the constituents have very valid and very concerning issues on this street. And seeing as they are elder and a lot of them are physically using the sidewalks and the crossing walks on a daily basis multiple times during the day in order to get their day-to-day things done, I think it's super important that we try to expedite some of these solutions so that we can bring some safety to this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Did you sign in?
Hi, my name is James Fields, resident at 89A Webster Ave in Chelsea. I'm for some of it and opposed to some of it. From Cabot to Stockton, I think that would be okay. But my concern is from Stockton up to Webster. If you make that a one-way, that's just going to push all that traffic over to Gillooly. I live on the corner of Gillooly and Webster. So what that's going to do is make, number one, a ton more traffic going down the hill, but also number two, I feel that that is a very wide street and everybody's concern here is speed. So the speed on that street is going to be beyond the speed limit, and in the past, I'd say at least 5 years, we've had 5 totaled vehicles hit on the corner of Webster and Gillooly. So if we make that traffic increase by tenfolds, how many more vehicles could we expect to lose? So, I'm kind of opposed to doing Stockton all the way up to Webster. So those are my concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Janice Fields, and my entrance is right on Galooly Road, and I'm opposed to making it one-way on clock for the simple reason I've almost gotten hit many times bodily by the cars flying down Galooly Road. My car got totaled by going down Galooly Road. The car actually was hit and ended up on the sidewalk. One of our friends almost got hit. There's no speed bump there, and they're just flying down that hill. And I understand the people and the problem at Clark, and I do understand it's difficult to get by both ways, but I don't feel the cars can fly down that hill because they do have to stop for the cars going up the hill. Whereas in Galooly Road, there's nothing coming up the hill. So it's like all night long, constantly, and I'm just afraid that someone's seriously gonna get hurt. And maybe they could put speed bumps, maybe they could do something. Someone had suggested cameras, but I don't think that's gonna help because we have a camera in front of our house, and when my car got totaled, the person took off and we couldn't tell who it was. So I'm all for making it a one-way from Cabot to Stockton, but from Stockton up to Webster, I'm really nervous that the cars are going to be speeding much more going down Galooly because there's no oncoming traffic that they would have to slow down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leo Robinson again. I'm in support of it to be the one-way going up the street. As an alternative, maybe we can take a look at putting some speed bumps down at that end of the street so that the cars who are coming off of Broadway would have to slow down, making a turn onto the street. So as an alternative, that might be helpful to the residents, particularly the seniors that live there, who sometimes have to come out of the driveway with their cars and they can't really see the traffic because the traffic is going at a pretty good speed. So as an alternative, if we could look at some speed bumps.
I understand the situation with the speed bumps, but that's hard on the emergency vehicle undercarriage. As far as Galooly's already a one-way going down to Stockton. I don't understand what you were really talking about because they're coming out of Broadway and going up Clark Ave to Webster. I'm not sure where that affects Galooly.
Because she's saying if you make Clark a one-way coming up the hill towards Webster, you have to go down Galooly to get to Stockton Street.
Yeah, you won't be able to get on Clark anymore.
But
You'll be detour, and that's what would increase the traffic flow and speed coming down Galooly.
Okay,
is what she's saying.
If that's the case, then Galooly should be a one-way going up because anybody coming down into that area does not have to go down there unless they're going to the Park Plaza, and the Park Plaza has a great big opening for them to go into.
True.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, 260 Clark Ave, apartment 807, Alex again. Today, I was going down it. I did see the dead end sign, but it was gray with black, and I don't know if that's reflective at night because obviously I don't want to have the wheelchair at night. But it still wasn't even the size of a regular stop sign, so I don't know if people can see or know that the Parkside Common going into Galooly Road, because there's a park there and there's a little parking lot next to the park. So I don't know, because I don't drive, I don't know if they think that's big or not, or if they know that Galooly Road is a one-way or one-way and then dead-end street or cul-de-sac, I'm not sure. Because that's the other thing, I have seen cars and even trucks get confused between Clark and the Beth Israel and almost going up Galooly Road past the white fence. And I've actually had to call the cops and say, could you remind this driver, maybe they don't know the area, to not, be right there. So they could have actually gotten hit by anybody trying to come out of Clark Ave because they're right there between the sidewalk and the crossroad between us at Clark Ave and the clinic right there between that, those roads as well. But even though the dead end sign wasn't big, so if I actually wasn't looking up, I wouldn't have seen that dead end sign on Galouli Road. And it's probably not big enough, and it probably should be somewhere else, but someone decided to put, like, what was it, like 3 by 8 or so? It's a small, it's not even the size of a stop sign. And then I've seen people put stickers on the stop sign.
Okay, we'll have somebody look at the sign.
Yeah. All right. No, but I mean, even on, even where the 7-Eleven is in Broadway, that four-way, as you get to the 7-Eleven, I've seen people put stickers on stop signs. Oh, that's so helpful. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So if you choose to make Clark Ave a one-way from Stockton to Webster, we're just asking that you give Galouli Road some kind of protection. Maybe put in speed bumps and or put some kind of restriction signs so they can't turn there at certain hours of the day. So that's all we're looking for. If that ends up being a one-way, we're going to need some kind of protection on Galouli Road. Because seriously, if you ever wanted to try it, just come down there some morning, even just the way it is, and try and walk across that street on the top of the hill. The cars, when they turn down there, they're trying to beat the light and they're flying. So that's all we ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, excellent.
Excellent. So thank you, everybody, for providing public comment tonight, as well as for the residents of Chelsea Housing Authority Margolis for hosting our team about a week and a half ago for the neighborhood meeting. I also want to thank Council President Robinson and Councilor DeJesus for their active involvement in the issue. So the city's retained a transportation engineer to look at converting Clark Ave to a one-way, as well as to look at some options for calming traffic and reducing some of the speeding that's affecting day-to-day life. So the study right now is underway. The consultant will be collecting traffic counts in mid-September, now that school's back in session. And by October, our plan is to have a draft plan that we would present to the neighborhood. So this plan's going to look at both the Clark Ave corridor, but it's also going to look at what might happen to roads like Galouli and other surrounding streets if we were to propose any changes. So we want to make sure we're not causing unintended consequences to any of the surrounding portions of the neighborhood. So we're looking at all that carefully. So by November, we'll have a plan to bring to the Traffic and Parking Commission after meeting with residents throughout October to review that draft. So for the time being, I'd request that we table this pending that community meeting and production of the plan.
Okay. Anybody second? Second. Okay, all in favor, tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
So we have the contact information that this meeting notice was sent out, so we'll notify everybody via that method. Yes.
Alex, can I just ask one thing? When it was a one-way, it was a one-way from Stockton to Cabot, correct?
Sorry, say that again?
When it was a one-way, it was the other way, right? From Stockton down to Cabot? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was. No.
And it had conflicting signs, too.
Yeah, I thought it was towards Cabot. Yeah.
Because if you go from Cabot to Stockton, you're not going to alleviate any traffic that's on Broadway. They're still going to try to beat the light.
All the cuts
It was
through.
towards Cabot,
Yeah.
I believe. And
Yeah.
I don't remember why.
Yeah,
It was,
all right.
It was like
Will the study,
weird thing.
can you
Yeah.
have them study both ways if they do one way?
We are, yeah, and we also had Beth Israel close up that curb cut because
Yeah.
folks were cutting through there, but they're still cutting through up to Cabot and then around.
All right.
Okay. Number 4, approval of the minutes from the June 6th, 2023 meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communication, March 22nd, from City Council requesting more clarification regarding adding a restrictive lane on Everett Avenue, southbound between Arlington Street and Route 1 on-ramp between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m., Monday through Friday.
So this request pertains to a proposal to add an on-ramp turning lane where parking exists today. This would mean that there would be no on-street parking along this stretch of Everett Ave adjacent to KM between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. on weekday mornings. One of the major goals of doing this is because there is chronic traffic on Everett Ave, and because of that traffic, cars are unable to access the Route 1 on-ramp. And so we had a team of transportation engineers study this. They evaluated the proposal and determined that there wouldn't be any negative traffic impacts. And then at the request of council, the city's performed additional engagement of businesses along the corridor, meeting with KM as well as many of the small businesses across the street. Overall, a lot of what we heard from businesses was supportive of this change. You know, they recognize that there is traffic congestion that has to be addressed. We're also, you know, sensitive to the concerns around on-street parking for businesses because that is very valuable. So with that, you know, we didn't hear any major opposition to this in our meetings. As a sort of procedural matter, we'd propose moving this to a final public hearing, holding that public hearing, and then returning to council with a recommendation.
Okay, so that's your motion?
Motion to move it to a public hearing.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, communication of May 25th from Hugo Rengifo regarding issues related to parking situations in the neighborhood. Is Hugo here?
I couldn't reach out to him.
I think he was in relation to Pine Street, though. I think he was
Pine
part of
Street.
that, which I know was at the end.
Because he lived on
The second
Pembroke,
one.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, is he talking about the Pembroke area?
No, he spoke with Judith Garcia.
So he hasn't showed twice.
No, and I sent him emails and no response.
No response? Okay.
Do you make a motion
I'll make a motion to remove this.
to remove it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication June 1st from Alex Floyd Vargas regarding traffic and pedestrian safety concerns at 260 Clark Ave.
I think that's what.
The
I think
same-
that was
Talking,
Alex.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was him, yeah.
All right, so that's all encompassed in that. We'll go to the next one. Handicap sign application June 6th from William DeLeon LaPop of 68 Shawmut Street.
No.
So there's no nearby
There's nothing.
spaces, yeah, over there.
There's one right around the corner in Maverick.
On Maverick.
On
Yeah.
Maverick, okay.
Nothing on Sherman.
Okay. The application appears complete.
Yeah, there's an existing pole there, too. You don't even need to put this.
Great. Great, I'd make a motion to approve this request.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second it, yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication August 1st from David Keene requesting the commission to evaluate the intersection of Heisel and Washington Ave, and he can't be here today, he emailed. But he sent a picture of the sign and the fence. It does look like it kind of blocks the view.
Yeah, when we did a site visit earlier this week, like the visibility if you're coming off Heisel onto Washington is bad. You know, you can't really look around the fence. There's some shrubs there as well. So we can evaluate it. I think there aren't any kind of quick and, you know, cost-effective options there. The longer-term option would probably be to bump the sidewalk out a little bit on Washington so you can move the stop bar up, just so that you could improve visibility for Heisel drivers, so they have eyes on Washington Ave.
Isn't there an ordinance, though, Alex, that's something about like a fence on a corner lot that blocks your vision, like the fence may be illegal, is what?
That's
what I would think,
correct. Yeah. So we could propose tabling this until the next meeting when he attends. Look into this this ordinance as well as to
It's not that
other
it's too
short-term
high, because
options.
one of the emails said the fence is, it's not that it's too high, it's just there.
There's
'cause
a
when we-
picture of it right now.
Yeah, because we put the sign up, we put it purposely so that it was kind of at that angle so you can still see the cars
Right.
coming.
Yep.
But now with that fence there, you don't. But like I said, I'm pretty sure there's an ordinance that doesn't allow that, so.
Yeah.
Anybody second the motion for
I'll
tabling?
second it, yeah, I'll
Okay,
second
all in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Yay, communication of August 2nd from Commissioner of Public Works Kate Fox-Lent requesting the commission to establish consistent and appropriate speed limit or clear speed zones for Eastern Avenue and Marginal Street.
according to the picture, it's
No, there's different speed limit
all
signs.
different.
But
areas.
Easton Ave's a state road. They set the speed limit.
Not anymore, it was.
We took it over.
Oh, we did.
It's a city
last,
owned now.
last year. Yeah. And so right now, we have a citywide speed limit of 25 miles per hour, except if it's marked otherwise. And as Jimmy was saying, there are different speeds all along Eastern and Marginal.
How do you go about doing that?
So generally, we would look at taking traffic counts to analyze what the current average speeds are, as well as looking at other state as well as locally owned kind of freight arteries, truck routes, to determine kind of the best speed limit that would accommodate both all the traffic as well as promote safety. So we have an outside transportation engineer that we can call upon to do that assessment. So I would be able to do that with our department in conjunction with DPW and report back at the following meeting. So I'd make a motion to table this pending investigation until the October meeting.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communication of August 10th from Edward Medros of the Walnut Street Synagogue requesting parking relief during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur holidays.
Not here?
I think we do this every year.
Yeah,
We do, yeah.
Synagogues and down on,
There've never been issues to my knowledge. Make a motion to approve the request.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Handicap sign application August 10th from Lydia Ruiz of 137 Shawmut Street. I think there was one at 151, I think that was it, right?
There's a couple right around the corner on Chester.
Chester?
Yeah. One at 29 and one at 50. There's three in the area. I don't know if that, I don't know if she means, she thinks one guy thinks it's permanently his. I think that's what it said.
You said, what'd you say, they're on Chester though, right? They're not on Shawmut.
There's one on Shawmut, he said, and then
Oh, there was one on
the other
Shawmut,
two are on, the other two are on
Oh.
Chester. The ones on Chester right around that intersection where they meet.
Could we inquire with the applicant if she can access either the ones on Chester or Shawmut currently? I'd make a motion to table the request pending clarification from the applicant.
Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication of August 11th from John Oftel on behalf of the Police Department requesting to reverse the direction of traffic on Chestnut Street from 4th to 3rd Street on a permanent basis or for a 6-month trial period. I know we did this in the past, and it worked well, and the only pushback we got was from the priest at St. Stan's, because he said it would affect the church. And so we had withdrawn it at the time, and we just figured we'd try it again to see what, it kind of makes sense. Anyway, at least for the fire department too, they get a straight shot to Chestnut to Everett Ave. And it also eliminates some traffic, I would think, on Broadway. Cars coming off the off-ramp can take a right onto Chestnut.
Great. No, and I recall a few years ago, this must have been 3-4 years ago now, when it was originally, or was proposed, we had pulled in a transportation group to assess it and didn't see any adverse impacts. I think our only recommendation would be to move this to a public hearing just to provide the neighborhood with an opportunity for input before the commission make a decision.
Can I ask you, if you've done a public study, how long ago was it?
That was about 3 or 4 years ago, so we
Would it
would
be
want to refresh all of that
Okay.
before.
So you would do more further study?
Correct, so we'd have to collect new traffic counts as well as assess the circulation impacts of any change. There's also new development, as you know, down on Chestnut that would have to be factored in.
Okay, we make a motion?
Motion to table it to move to a public hearing.
Great. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, handicap sign application of August 14th from Miguel Cora of 38 6th Street.
to that pocket where we're.
Yeah, we've
had-
had a few issues with around the housing,
Yeah.
and we've already had multiple handicap spots there, and they keep, but this one is, his spot, I think, was on Sixth Street, but now that's closed due to the construction of the building across the street, so there's no parking there right now anyways.
Right, because once they opened up, there is a spot there.
But once the construction finishes, then
Right.
you could be able to, you could be able to put it back, but I don't
Right.
think you could do it till construction's complete.
Right.
Which I don't, do you have a time frame on that?
It's supposed to be by mid to end of next year, so fall of 2024
quite a
is
while.
the realistic timeline. About a year away.
So it's not that close. I would make a motion just to deny it for now, but maybe get in touch with Mr. Corrin, just to let him know that he can reapply when the building is complete.
Okay,
I'll second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication August 17th from Jennifer Hassel regarding the traffic and safety concerns on Eastern Avenue. Did you sign in?
Yes. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. Michael Kerwin, 80 Eastern Ave. There I'm an employee for a cultivation, manufacturing, and retail location in between Cottage and Bellingham. I've been there for just about 2 years. I have witnessed monthly accidents, sometimes brutal accidents. Just some notable ones. Our own employee, we have 80 employees just trying to come in around 7:30 in the morning. He had his car flipped by a vehicle going roughly 40 miles an hour in the lane closest to our facility while the bridge was up. I believe it's the bridge and not being able to see cars trying to take a left onto Cottage, which is causing the most. I've also witnessed a vehicle with a mother and a young child getting pinned against the pole on the corner of Cottage, as well as a motorcyclist. And it tends to be all similar circumstances where vehicles are traveling on Eastern looking to take a left onto Cottage. There's a line of traffic with the bridge either being up or the red light, and cars in that right lane are going 30, 40 miles an hour without able to see it. No matter how many times you inch ahead and you think you're good, people are getting into accidents. We even witnessed one a week ago on Monday. Just something that's been consistent, and I believe we could have some ideas of stopping this with a light, maybe further beyond Bellingham, or speed bumps, or a speedometer of how fast people are going. It's just something to provoke people to slow down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Van Thornhill, also an employee over at 80 Eastern Ave. There have been a ton of accidents, usually more serious ones. I've personally had to pull out people out of damaged cars on our parking lot. Some of them were employees, some of them were customers, some of them were just residents driving right by. And I think the main issue is that the bridge is right there. And I know that that used to be an industrial area mainly, so there wasn't much going on. But now that the facility is up and running, there's also the festivities that they throw across the street from the car wash further down Eastern Ave next to the school. And there's a lot of residents that frequent walking around that area. So I don't know how logistically sound it would be, but I think that we should do something in order to either make it safer for people to turn onto those side streets or just slowing traffic down in general, because, I mean, the majority of the accidents happen due to high speed, and no visibility obviously doesn't help either. I don't know if it's within the city's budget to maybe do something as simple as put in like a crosswalk with a yield to pedestrian sign with a button they can push if they have to cross, or maybe just one of those big squares with the X's to kind of avoid sitting right in that middle of the intersection when traffic does build up, and it will build up. It's an inevitability that happens every day. Or even just like a speed sign and you know, with a camera on it just to spook people to slow down. But yeah, we see it every day, whether we're involved or not, and we figure it's just kind of time to try to change that. I think the most notable accident was that motorcyclist. He ended up passing away, unfortunately. And that was the first one that I heard of. The latest one that I heard of was last Monday. So hopefully we can do something. And obviously, if you need any help from us over at the facility, logistically speaking, more than happy to provide data or a hand. So thanks for hearing.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Sue. I'm one of the co-founders of Harbor House Collective on 80 Eastern Avenue in Chelsea. I'm here on the same exact topic that we are seeing gruesome accidents outside of our building on a regular basis. These accidents are usually the same style. They are predictable. They are all similar, and I feel like they're easily repeatable. I myself almost got hit just on my way over here. But it's essentially coming from the fact that we do have excessive speeds, but we also do have a challenge that's brought on by the bridge when it does go up. We do have a left lane that's completely at a standstill, and then a right lane that's traveling at 40 plus miles an hour, making it almost impossible to safely turn onto either Cottage or Bellingham Street. I'm also the person who's responsible for submitting all of the camera footage that is requested of us. So anytime insurance companies, state police, local police, any private citizens, they do frequently make these requests of us. And I am doing this on a bi-weekly, if not monthly basis of finding footage of gruesome accidents that have resulted in deaths and are, generally give me a very terrible sense of what's going to happen to our employees and also our customers. So they are all Chelsea residents. We do employ a majority of Chelsea residents, and the majority of our customers are Chelsea residents. So we do ask to either help stem the speed on that street or to provide signage or any sort of passive solution to just make that a more safe intersection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Hassel. I'm the Executive Director at the Chamber of Commerce, and I just also wanted to offer any assistance that we could to help with any conversations that you're having with Harbor House. They reached out to us for help on how to approach this topic, and it was a great learning experience for us as well, so we want to thank you for your time. But just to kind of reiterate what they said, 80 employees, mostly Chelsea residents, that could potentially be walking to that area to work, and it has become much more pedestrian active in that area. So just something to take into consideration as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you all for sharing both the photographs as well as the firsthand accounts of the safety issues at the intersection of Cottage. So the city can evaluate options at this location, both short-term and longer-term options. Presently, there is a planned intersection upgrade at Griffin and Eastern, about 1 block up, which will result in a new traffic signal being installed this fall. This should slow traffic to some degree. However, there are chronic safety issues with Cottage and Eastern that we'll evaluate. Generally speaking, just given the complexity of this area, the freight route, the bridge, the intersections, and side street traffic, this likely won't be a small short-term fix that we can do quickly, but would likely result in a longer-term capital project. So I just want to be able to set expectations that we'll evaluate options and be able to present some of those alternatives to you as well as the Commission and City Council. But it would likely require funding either from City Council or outside grants in order to take those from a plan and implement them. So I propose tabling this right now. We'll reach out to our transportation team and have them begin the assessment process. And we can also keep you apprised as to the new light that's going to go up at Griffin Way, which is slated for installation this fall.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication August 18th from Chelsea business owners requesting to allocate more 15-minute parking spaces in the downtown area to allow business owners to always have parking available for uploading products, delivery drivers, and customers, and the relocation of handicapped parking spaces on Broadway.
How are you? My name is Luis Romero, owner of Delicias Salvadoreñas, located at 235 Broadway, right in front of the Bank of America ATM and that little intersection. We're one of those businesses there.
Good evening, my name is Mayra Romero. We are the owners at Delicias Salvadoreñas in 235 Broadway, Chelsea.
Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of bring up a concern about the different changes that have been going on regarding parking. What we noticed is there has been 4 new handicap parkings from 4th Street up to William Street, with 2 of them being right across from each other, and 1 of them right in front of our restaurant, which I want to just bring up the concern that that's not being used properly. As just from ours, we probably get about 200 delivery drivers that work from Uber Eats, DoorDash, that honestly use that space, that handicap space, to just sit there for 5 minutes, and they go into us and say, hey, we're waiting in the car, call us because we're parking the handicap, we don't want to get towed. So those, and there's 2 right from in the corners, so those 2 spots are constantly not being used for the correct purpose you guys put them there for, as well as there's a Bank of America ATM, that which you guys already know, people double park across Broadway just to get into a Bank of America ATM all the time. And now that there's a handicap spot that's free, sometimes it's getting again used for not the correct purposes. And I guess another concern is there's big box trucks that come to deliver to us. There's a corner store Oreo Market that's connected to us that have big box trucks doing constant deliveries, that those big box trucks don't have any commercial space to park in, whereas most of the 15-minute parking spots tend to be in front of the post office as well as BDS. So those box trucks they're not going to park all the way there to deliver their product to where we're located and beyond, where there's not many of those 15-minute parking spaces. So I just want to bring up the concern that those spots that, we're not against the handicap, but maybe relocating them. And another thing is there's also in that area, there's also spots being taken up by the outdoor seating, which another thing we wanted to maybe run by you is we take up that last spot right in front of our spot, we use it as outdoor seating. If you guys are willing to make that into a commercial, we'll stop taking it up as outdoor seating. We won't do the outdoor seating going forward. If you guys can help us out with giving us some access towards being able to drop off our product, have our, the Uber Eats, DoorDash delivery guys have some type of, easier access to parking. So if you guys are willing to help us out, we will stop taking that up for months as an outdoor seating spot. And look, it is.
I speak with different owners at the different restaurants, and I agree with us about the relocated handicap spot, because we can see all day that spot is not used properly, and we affect this spot affect different restaurants, because we have a lot of customers come to pick up food.
Yeah, so we just basically want to add thank you guys for letting us express how the changes in parking are affecting business owners. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Efrain Molina. I'm the owner of Curly Restaurant, and I have the same problem with the handicap. Actually, that spot used to be for our customers to pick up. Now, if they stay there 5 minutes, they get a ticket, and that's a huge ticket they're getting. So now the people, they don't want to go pick up the food anymore. That's affecting us because it's right in the corner, right where my daughter, when they come out, is right there. So where they're going to park to pick up food. I got some pictures. They have to park double parking. So it's making it worse. So I think if you guys relocate the handicap space, I think that will help us out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, once again, Jen from the Chamber of Commerce. As the executive director there, we kind of open our doors to the businesses that need help or advocating on which paths to take. These are 2 of about 10 business owners that signed the petition, which I believe you're all in receipt of. And so they're not asking to eliminate the spaces, they're just asking to relocate. And even just a few, 1 or 2 of, I believe, 4 spaces that are in that immediate area. There was an analysis made, and it just seems that it's probably called for in that area because obviously there are residents that need that parking, but in their observation, the parking just isn't being utilized, and I don't know if that's something that's monitored. But again, anything that we could do to help gather information or just to help evaluate this situation a little bit closer, we're open to doing, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so thank you all for sharing public comment tonight. So the city can certainly look into whether it's appropriate to relocate those handicap parking spaces, either across the street or to another location nearby. We certainly want to ensure that we're balancing all the needs of both the businesses as well as residents who are in need of handicap parking. Generally, the city cites handicap spaces near corners because it's close to wheelchair ramps that folks need. Or crosswalks. So if we do relocate them, they'll likely be near another corner. So, recognizing that there will be some trade-offs, we're happy to talk with folks about that and find a solution that works for everybody. Just with regards to one question that was raised about 15-minute spots or loading zones. So the city, through the city clerk's office, has an application businesses can fill out if they want a loading zone or a 15-minute space. After that's completed, it's submitted to the Traffic and Parking Commission, and a decision's made to City Council, who approves or rejects that request. So I think our staff, Omar, he's happy to work with any of you on the actual application for that short-term parking space, if that would meet your needs. So we'd review these, and at the next meeting, we can revisit the location. So I'd make a motion to table this.
Okay. Second? Anybody second?
I just want to say something, but my only problem is that as much as it may inconvenience you, if I go put it across the street, I'm just going to inconvenience the next business owner. So unfortunately, if we go and do that for every business owner, we won't have a handicap spot. So the motion was made by people to have accessible parking on Broadway because there was no handicap signs up at Broadway the whole length of it. So the request was made, we granted the request, we felt that those were the best spots, just granted on the location, whether in front of Curly's, it's in front of the crosswalk, so the person can come right out of their car and get right to the crosswalk. They don't have to walk up a curb. If we put it in the middle of the block, they don't have to parallel park. Some of those are a little tougher for handicapped people than they are for a normal person. So we thought of those when we put those signs in, and we did it in blocks, trying to separate them enough that people could still have access to it, but still walk half a block away or half a block each way. So unfortunately, I think moving them is just going to put it in someone else's lap and take it away from whoever is requesting that.
Actually, if you're saying that there is near to the sidewalk, if you put across the street, that's a sidewalk right there, not in front of my restaurant, because that's what affected me a lot.
Correct.
If you relocate that one to the other side, there will be no problem.
That's possible, but there's on that side of the street, in particular your area, there's just the park there. The people ain't parking on the left to go to the park. They're parking on that side to go. So that means that person now has to go across the street.
Correct. Thank you.
I understand what you're saying, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say. Sir.
Great. So as I mentioned, we can certainly look at it. Jimmy made a good point that there are trade-offs, and we can certainly present at the next meeting what options might exist, but ultimately it's a trade-off that everybody will have to make. So appreciate you raising it with the commission tonight.
Where if you take it away from right across the street from me is going to add it to somebody else. So I just want you guys, and then now I know that there's an alternative of me going through an application and requesting something like that. So I just want you guys to keep an open mind that, like I said, I use a spot for outdoor dining for, a third of the year. Like if I'm willing to, stop doing that, and, that would be the trade-off I'm willing to make, right?
Yeah.
I'll stop using that for my only benefit that I only benefit from to 15-minute parking that can be used by different businesses instead of it being used just by me. Just keeping in mind that, when those applications start coming in of how those spaces will be used.
True.
Thank you.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you.
So the motion was to table it?
Yeah, table it.
Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Me.
Okay, communication August 22nd from residents of Pine, Beacon, and William Street requesting installation of speed bumps to enhance road safety on Pine Street.
My name is John Podolsky. I live at 36 Pine Street for 41 years now. A couple of months back, my handicapped neighbor requested a speed bump, and what we got was 2 slow children playing signs. I'm here to tell you in person that those are not effective at all. I don't think there's a day goes by that I'm not yelling at somebody to slow down or giving them the signal to slow down. And I think one of the worst offenders is somebody that works at the courthouse. On a busy day when William Street is backed up, people use Pine Street as a cut-through to avoid some of the traffic. And I think everything else is said in the petition we requested. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, we put signs. Yeah.
So thank you for raising this with the commission. So the commission can conduct a assessment of methods to slow traffic down as well as to improve safety. This is a tough street. It's quite narrow. It's often used for cut-through traffic, as you know. And so we'd want to consult with the fire department and the police department just to ensure that anything that would be proposed isn't conflicting with public safety response. So I'd make a motion to table this while the city performs an internal review of traffic calming options in conjunction with DPW, fire, and police.
Okay. Anybody second?
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, handicap sign application August 28th from Guillermo Rivera of 69 Marlborough Street. There's 107, right? 107 Marlborough.
That's at the top in Highland. That's halfway up the block. Yeah, that's pretty far away. I'll make a motion to pass.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, communication August 29th from Max Jacobson of Arco National Construction, requesting the review and approval of the traffic management plan for Chelsea Point at 250 Marginal Street / 22 Willow Street.
I don't know where you guys want me to start. This is Mike Sutton, our traffic control engineer with Northeast Traffic Control. We, with our, let me back up. So just to kind of tell the story, we submitted a sidewalk closure plan initially for the building demo, there was a temporary fence put up on the sidewalk. In order to provide more safety for pedestrian traffic, we wanted to close the sidewalks and redirect the sidewalks. And part of that, we thought it would help to move that fence, you know, just off the curb so that we could install our new curbs and new sidewalks. And along Congress and Highland Street, we have an elevated, I don't know, we have like a 12-foot drop off for roughly 300 feet, and it slopes down to 4 to 5 feet. But that was the thought process on the fence, and so there was on the Congress and Highland sides there was already no parking, so we pushed our fence out there. We understood the impact of parking on Highland. Went through that with Kate and understand that there was costs associated with that and an impact to the neighborhood. And then after reviewing again, we understand that was a pain point for the community, and we had discussed moving that fence back onto the sidewalk and just onto the curb, still to allow parking on the street, and also to keep the fence up for fall protection for people, pedestrians, getting out of their car. I mean, the sidewalk still needs to be closed. It's not safe to be up over there. In order to move that fence, I do need to put fall protection up along the Highland Street. It's an OSHA, per OSHA, we need to be tied off to be working on the inside of that fence. So in order to do that, we need to have some sort of OSHA-approved fall protection system. What we're thinking of doing, we were going to wait till the retaining wall was built, the new retaining wall, and then backfill it, and then it would be safe. But now we're going to need to construct just some sort of temporary fence out of 2x4s or something so that the workers can get behind the fence and safely move it. So I think that's our first issue, and then
Can I ask you, is there enough space? If you put the fence back on the sidewalk, is there still enough space for the workers to work in there and allow parking?
yes.
Okay.
However, we are reconstructing that sidewalk.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually in the spring,
Yeah.
so that fence will go back into the street.
Yeah, and I just meant in the meanwhile of going through the winter, especially because so what happens up on, I don't know if you know, on that main road, Central Ave is a main arteria,
Yep.
so there's no parking allowed on that street, and when there's no parking on that street during a snowstorm, the influx of the cars just come down to Highland and Willow and Congress and Marginal and all those streets down there. Not Marginal, sorry. Okay.
Gotcha.
So you're thinking, just according to this letter, you'd have this kind of tied up by Thanksgiving, roughly?
Have what tied up?
So you mentioned here that you have about 4 weeks of work, starting with precast, that you would need the temporary road closure on?
Yeah, kind of a different issue, different subject. I think the first thing I wanted to address was the sidewalk closure and the fence that was moved out into the street. And then the second piece that I wanted to present was just a traffic control plan for the precast erection. We have, precast structure comes in on a 53-foot flatbed. There's going to be a crane on the inside. It's going to be erected from the interior of the building. During the erection process, until the panels are secured, we'd like to have that street closed down for that day so that, if anything were to happen, there's not civilians in that street.
So similar to the process of the parking garage down on Central, right? Correct?
Yep,
Same way?
yeah, similar to the Plum House deal. Yep. And I just put some rough durations on there, roughly, 5 days for the Highland Street, 10 days for Congress, another 5 days for Willow. So anyway, I think we have some detour signs to put up and such for those days.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on the traffic control side? Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? So, in terms of your most, so the nearest term kind of critical path date seems like it's October 15th, roughly. Generally, this type of request would be moved to a public hearing before the commission acts, just to provide neighbors with an opportunity to comment. If we were to do that, our next meeting's early October, would that, delay your schedule materially, or would you be able to still, start sometime after mid-October?
Yeah, I would say that October 15th is a conservative date. I think that we actually could be erecting sooner than that, There's a chance we could be erecting early October.
Conversely, though, if we were to not make a decision tonight, move it to a public hearing that would occur in early October, at that point, our decision would have to go before City Council, so you may not have that formal approval until, mid-October, possibly late October.
That would delay us, yes.
So would that delay you materially, though, or would you be able to accomplish other work on site that has to be done right now?
No, that is our critical path to the project.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
In that same sense, when Max and I were talking, Greg Barbarian, working with Max here at ARCO, the 4 weeks for precast is a maximum window, and he's hoping to be done in 3 weeks. And as well as that, we're working now with Boston Hides and Fur to potentially rent a parking lot from them where we can stage material, stage trucks. The goal is the least amount of upset to the area. So ideally, we're asking for 4. Ideally, it's 3. Ideally, the trucks are sitting in a rented parking lot, not staged up on the streets, not blocking traffic, and pull one in when you're ready, unload, and get out of there to have the least disruption possible to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, generally speaking, I don't see it any differently than what they did down on Central and Willow, where they erected a parking garage with precast. They staged trucks down the streets, they brought them up. They made the streets accessible where the trucks were parked, but where the actual construction went, they closed down that block of Willow Street for, daily for weeks, on it. So I don't see a problem technically with that. Unless you do, Alex?
No,
I think the only issue you could see would be Congress, because people live on that street, so they got to be able to get in to the houses at some point.
But the block is going to be from Congress to Marginal.
Yeah, but they're actually talking about closing Congress too.
Right.
For 10 days.
Oh, going down, okay. So how many crates, that's good, okay, when you do that section, yeah.
Yeah, when they do the section along the back.
So would that be open to local traffic as you have it closed off, though, or?
We certainly could work with the residents. That we don't need that whole street open or shut down, but, say we're working on that west half of the street, maybe we can,
Because the problem with that Congress location is there's an entrance and there's an exit. That's it. They can't come in from Maverick. They can't come in from any other street, so they have to come in. The Boys and Girls Club have a back driveway there, but they can access it from Maverick.
And there's 2 entries that you're talking about.
Correct.
Maybe we can split it, and have it, and then we can switch once we get to that point.
Yeah, so I would say as long as the residents at 250 Congress have a way to their condos and can get in and out while you're still construction, then I don't see it being that.
Leads like to.
Would both of those streets be closed at the same time? You wouldn't be working on both. You'd be coming up in and going. Okay.
One train.
So it'd be one street at a time. Okay, that's okay. Of course, yeah.
And I think, if you can do your part to also alert residents who live in those condos across the way, and our team can work with you on, a notice that can be circulated, I think that would be helpful. I think we do have somewhat of just a process issue. We generally will move this type of matter to a public hearing. Similarly, we did this for the Central Ave project, just to ensure that both council and our residents have a moment to weigh in on the matter. So I recognize that is really butting up against your October 15th deadline. We can certainly work as quickly as possible on our end to have that hearing the first week of October and then move it immediately to council.
So say, Leo, so when does council meet in October, Leo? Can you answer that? Meaning if we were done, because we meet the first Tuesday, so if it gets passed on that first Tuesday, a couple days for paperwork on Elsa's part, but then you would be able to fast track it to council? The 9th, I think?
It's the 9th.
It's the 9th.
Yeah, it's the 9th.
So
that
probably
would
the
be,
Tuesday or the 10th, you'd be meeting. So there could be, if we were able to fast track it and get on the 10th, that could still keep you in line with your 15th.
But you're saying you'd be meeting the 16th? 16th.
Oh, not until the 16th, okay.
So I think worst case scenario, that sets you back about a week as opposed to your existing schedule.
So I'd like to just provide some context, which is the company came to me in June, just after the commission meeting, and was looking to start their project and plan, but of course, with the hiatus during the summer, there was no commission to review or approve a plan. So I went ahead and provided approval for some initial work, but it was, brought to my attention that I didn't have full approval to do that for more than 30 days, but it allowed them to get started. We have, in some ways, received comments from the public via the counselor that represents the area, whose main concern is the parking on Highland, although they may be unaware of what the closures on Congress would be. So I understand there's a procedure, but there was not ample opportunity over the summer for them to submit a plan as well.
In terms of a public hearing, Alex, I mean, I would see if it was going to affect a vast majority of the city or certain streets. To me, it's only going to affect 250 Congress.
No, that's
because
true, absolutely.
There's no houses on that part of Highland. There are cars that park there, but like we said, if you could leave the neighborhood or even notify them, we could put them. We do have a message board there. I think if you could notify them in enough time of a.
As a resident, I would like to have something to say. I mean, oh, absolutely. If I'm going to lose parking, I'm going to have possible loss of access.
Well, you don't lose. I mean,
You're not losing any parking.
well, on Congress you would be because you'd want to have that side of the park. There's only one side, but you'd want to have that parking side up against the condos with no parking while you're working.
Yeah.
So you'd lose a little bit there,
I mean, that would be a concern to me, and I think the residents should
True,
be able
true.
to have their say.
I just meant it seems to only be affecting one.
Yeah, but I would be the one, I mean,
Correct,
I still feel
yeah,
as
yeah.
though there is
True,
a process
true.
that we should follow.
I'm pretty sure we could, if we didn't want to move this to a public hearing, we could, hold a public hearing, advance a decision to council, and have this done by your deadline that week of the 16th.
Can we do a special hearing, so it's sooner or later? I mean, is that something, I don't know if.
So the commission has held special meetings in the past. I would defer to Elsa and the clerk's office, but we have held special meetings previously.
I mean, because in theory, we could have held one this summer too.
Exactly.
Because tentatively you'd meet on the 4th, so like this, it wouldn't get to council till the 16th, which would put you after your deadline.
Right. So
I think that's like, I understand the processes. It's just frustrating, like Kate said, like we've, been at it for a while, and there was a hiatus of
No, absolutely.
months.
True, and that's why we want to try to work to expedite it as much, but like Maureen said, you don't want to go and just say to someone, sorry, you can't park there, and they don't have anywhere to park, They have some have off-street parking there, but it's not all, they can't all fit on that street. That's why they're out the street.
Residents should have a say when things are, changing in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
What
I
would their
understand what you're
safety
saying,
or
but I
what
do
would
have a
their
real issue
comments
with
be from
us
that?
just pushing forward without having input from the community.
It's one thing, like she said too, if you were just blocking the street to erect the stuff there, down on Willow Street there was no parking already. It was already completely eliminated once they knocked the buildings down. So it was a little different situation, but like we said, we're not trying to hold you up in any way, but we also are trying to do it properly,
So we can look into holding a special meeting. We can consult with the city clerk's office and council to see if that's doable.
Okay.
And if we are able to, I'm sure, my colleagues would be happy to. Worst case scenario, this would be taken up at our next meeting. So I would propose tabling this, moving it to a public hearing, and then Elsa will circle back with you on the proposed date, whether that's at a special meeting or at the normal meeting, which occurs the first week of October.
Very good.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second it.
I just have one question. The parking for Congress and Willow, that's only from 7 to 5 that you're looking to restrict it? There will be overnight parking in those? According to this, it's just Highland Street for 5 days has 24-hour curbside restrictions, but everything else, you'll be able to park at night from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m.?
I think we had it for all of them that way.
what, overnight parking you will still have?
Yeah, overnight parking on the traffic control side from Tilt or precast direction, we had overnight parking on Willow, Congress, and Highland. What we say about Highland is that we're gonna need to shut it down or put our fence into the streets and shut that sidewalk down for 24 hours during that construction period.
All right, so you won't be affecting overnight parking at all, you're just looking to
Yeah,
restrict
so his
parking
question is,
during the day?
if you limit overnight parking, that's the biggest problem. During the day, maybe if people are working, you can get away with it, but at nighttime, that's where they definitely need to park. If you're not,
Directing at night, and they will be able to park there at night.
they'll be able to park on Congress.
As long as they're out by 7, right? Because you guys are looking to get that started by 7. All right. All right.
All right, great, thank you. As Jimmy mentioned, you know, we will do our best to expedite this as quickly as possible. We understand you have deadlines to hit, and we want to make sure we're supporting you in that. So we'll be in touch after this.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, you second the motion?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication August 29th from Anna Berry Carmer of the Department of Housing and Community Development requesting the approval of an operations and management plan for the Chelsea neighborhood market.
Hey there, thanks so much for hearing this request tonight. I really appreciate it. My name is Anna Berry Carmer. I am a senior project manager in the Department of Housing and Community Development. So I wanted to share a little bit about this initiative just to give some context for the request. This is a new pilot initiative that we are undertaking as both a food access initiative as well as small business entrepreneur opportunity for small food businesses in Chelsea. It's going to be a vendor market focused on fresh and affordable produce as well as Chelsea-made prepared foods. And we are looking to start this market, like I said, as a pilot. Assuming it goes well, then we plan to continue it so that it's a consistent source of food for the community as well as a social event. The current plan is to hold it twice monthly, and we are planning to hold it outdoors when the weather permits at Chelsea Square. So the Chelsea Square location in the evaluation with the event management team was chosen for both the convenient location as well as hopefully bringing additional foot traffic, not only to the market but to the surrounding businesses. I want to acknowledge that that will also be bringing car traffic to the area, and so there's 2 requests that I would make to be able to mitigate that. One of those would be to close 2nd Street between Broadway and Park Street. It's that little section between the Winnissimmet Park and Chelsea Square, and that would really just ensure safety for pedestrians so that there are not cars coming right through that area, which actually is raised too so that it can be easily walkable for events like this. And the other request is basically to, the event team will plan to direct traffic towards the municipal parking lots under the Tobin Street Bridge. And so we are requesting to see if we could waive the parking fees in those lots during the market hours to hopefully encourage folks to park down there and to hang out for maybe longer than they might if they are not worried about parking fees. The other thing I want to add is that there is a precedent for this for other community events like the Chelsea Night Market, and we are very willing and prepared to communicate about the market with the businesses and residents in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My only concern is the free parking. I mean, we don't do it for normal businesses, why would we do it here? I mean, what is the cost of parking under the bridge per meter? You know,
Sure,
I mean,
yeah,
it's, you know,
absolutely.
we're a walkable city, we have public transit, that should be encouraged. Yeah, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, as we approach this, at the very least, we wanted to offer free parking for the vendors, so at least after they kind of move all of their items, offload, they have a place to park. But absolutely hear you on the kind of precedent it sets for free parking for the general public.
I mean, 'cause we might as well open it for downtown Broadway anyways, if we're gonna do it just for this open market, in my opinion.
Sure,
I mean,
no,
why-
that's
yeah,
valid.
if we were to do free parking, would there be a way to enforce a time limit? So like say 1 hour to kind of, to encourage turnover? Because I think if you don't, if you just offer free parking and word gets out, which it will, people will just park there for the day.
I mean, I personally don't think we should offer free parking, to be honest.
Just to answer your question, yes, our enforcement contractor does have the ability to monitor turnover and encourage turnover, whether that's every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, so forth.
And if there's only twice a month, I mean, closing Second Street isn't really a problem.
Right.
And they can drop off their stuff right on Second Street.
It's just dropping it off and then having someone to put their vehicles to go.
Yeah.
Right. When they have to, yeah. But they already hold in the summer they hold.
We have beer
stands
garden
and
and stuff
Nothing,
there.
yeah, but no, I'm saying even in Chelsea Square, nothing to do with the city. We allow them to go into that park and have. They have fruit stands. They have things. So they have to find their own parking. They have to put their trucks. They get their stuff out. They have to go find parking. Like they don't have any. Like you said, Maureen, there's no special parking privileges. There's nothing there. They just come, set up in the park, and then park, and then go back, and it's all part of their. To me, it's all part of their business. I would think.
Yeah, I don't see a problem closing the street at all.
Yeah, closing the street's nothing.
As
Yeah,
long
it's
as
just
it
the
doesn't
park.
affect
It's just the-
Broadway or
I think
Park.
it's just the parking. Yeah.
And with
Wouldn't
the
want to
tunnel
cement that
closure,
area.
it's not gonna be a big issue either.
No, no. And that, you can go up right around the police station, make a U-turn, you're right there. You can
It's only
get
for a
right
few
on it.
hours on the weekends.
Yeah, and it's not, yeah. Is there, what's your flexibility on the parking and the vendors parking? Like, would that hamper your ability to get a vendor in there because they can't park for free or they can't have a place to put their vehicle?
So my concern would be the biggest impact is they would probably find parking in the nearby streets, and then that would lead to more impacts for businesses.
True. Yeah.
I think the main thing that I would be concerned about is the vendors would be looking for parking right in that nearby area, and they're coming kind of early in the morning, so it might impact the businesses and folks coming later in the day, like during that market time. That would be the biggest
So
thing.
can I ask you, are you asking for parking for the vendors or parking for anybody who's gonna go to this event?
Yeah, so my request is for anyone, but I would prioritize the vendors if that is of concern to allow for everyone.
There's no alternatives, I mean, because I know, like, the Williams School has parking, there's other parking lots in the area. Have you looked at those to see whether or not you can trade off with them?
Yeah, I did a quick analysis. I think that proximity is why I settled on the Tobin Bridge lots.
What is the rates down there, do you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I'll have to look.
Do we have an updated parking?
The rates for what, I'm sorry?
Under the bridge parking.
That's gonna be the issue too. You know, if we say free parking, then everybody that comes in here is
Yeah,
gonna
it's
ask
gonna
for
turn,
free
yeah,
parking.
it'll spread around.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
No,
I
absolutely.
mean, again, I think that, I get what you're saying with the vendors, but, the people coming to the event, I don't see why we wouldn't give them free parking.
True.
Again, we have public transit, it's a walking city. We should be encouraging people to get out of their cars and walk to the
And there's a
events.
loading zone there too that they can use to drop off the stuff.
Right alongside the square, yeah.
Across the street on Second Street, there is a loaded zone, yeah. If no one's parked in it. But yeah, there is. Yeah, but that's only allows them to unload and go, which they can already do that on Second Street, like we said. It's more parking their vehicles after. Like you said, you wish there was something there that you could trade off with and possibly park. I mean, KM's over there, but I don't know if they're willing to let people park in there on a Saturday.
Yeah, I just think we have to be careful with
Yeah.
like allowing free parking.
Yeah.
Because that'll just turn into
Opening that
like,
can of worms.
We don't want to, I mean, if we table it, it'll take longer, but what if we just approve, say, the closure of the street, but then revisit the actual vendor parking or free park, whatever, off-site parking for vendors? I mean, I'm sure we could think of something to have them. And like I said, whether or not maybe you can possibly reach out to KM and say, we'd like to get people in the neighborhood, and, we're talking, especially if you're talking about just 4 or 5 trucks. I don't know how many trucks you're talking about, or how big, actually.
Do you know how many vendors you're looking at roughly, or no idea yet?
We're looking at 10, probably 10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not terrible. A size, a lot that size, or even across the street at the I forget the actual property, but across from where the banana place used to be, right there. That parking lot's wide open there too. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe if you could possibly, you know, trade off or do that. Like, I'm not opposed to approving the street closure, which will get you started, and then we can figure out the vendors and figure out where they're going to park and that stuff.
Yeah, that, at least from my perspective, that would be great because that's really the most important safety concern. So if that could go through tonight, that would be awesome, and I can revisit the parking and look around the other
So I would make a
options.
motion to pass it to the street closure part, and then we'll just revisit the parking situation. We could come up with something different.
Great, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.